jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
You're tuned in to World Combat Sports. Salute and good morning on this Friday, man. Hopefully everyone is doing absolutely amazing. Man, it's the weekend, of course. This is the first day of July, and you already know what that is, man. We have officially breached mid part of 2022 already. You know what I'm saying? It was just a short time ago in 2020 when we was just looking at boxing like, God damn, like this is gonna be a struggle. Will boxing be able to survive? You know what I'm saying? It was so bad. And then we went through 21. We saw the changes with the mask regulations, mandates, and all the dang. You had to have your vaccination. It just seems like every time you turned around, somebody was dying during 2020, 2021. I mean, just dying at a rapid rate. Now, you barely even hear the news speak on it. Isn't that amazing? Like, you barely even hear the news speak on it. And, of course, when it came down to boxing, you used to hear fighters being pulled from fights. They couldn't attend because, they came down with COVID. You rarely hear that now. Like most recently, Xander Zayas was pulled from his fight because he had a non-COVID related situation which ended up, from what I found out, he had strep throat. All right. So it's just, I don't know. It's at a whole nother level of, disbelief that so much was going on at that time. Fighters was having to choose a alternate career to make money and provide for themselves. And then, the promotion was talking about they didn't have the money to do this, that, and the other, to put on big fights in the bubble. It just wasn't conducive for them or smart for business for that to happen. Now we in 2022, the first day of July, just passing the mid-year. And, one thing we can say about that. Last year, we was able to get the trilogy with the heavyweights, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. We was able to get the trilogy. It was a lot of bad blood coming off the rematch. A lot of individuals hoping and praying that, Deontay Wilder would just go to bed. You know what I'm saying? Just lay down in the cemetery and never come back to boxing again. Just live his life on the outside. But yet he came back for a third time. And it didn't work out for him. He ended up getting stopped. And now the heavyweight division has just been in what is called, it's been idled in elevator music. It's just been sitting. It's really nothing has been going on like it used to when Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury was fighting each other. At one point in time, I remember the Anthony Joshua. Man. I remember him very, very well, because the first time people started talking about, and that's when I was on Facebook heavy, people was talking about Anthony Joshua. They was like, man, this guy's the total package. You know what I'm saying? It's the total package when it comes to boxing. He's the total package. He has the looks, he has the skill, he's knocking guys out. Man, you could not tell these individuals on Facebook that Anthony Joshua was not a premier boxer. The way these individuals was going on, the way they was expressing derogatory comments, and they was talking so bad, about a potential matchup between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. You would think Joshua was the king, like he was actually a real life king in his country. You know what I'm saying? Like he was holding that type of throne. I looked at his, first thing I did, I went to his Olympic. He said, "Oh, it's Olympic gold medalist." So I went and I took a look at his way back and way back then. I took a look at his gold medal round match, and then, I tried to, when I was making entry, I was pretty much trying to eliminate the fact that it was a London Olympics. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really want to say, okay, well, this is the London Olympics. It's already favoritism being shown. I tried to eliminate that, try to come in with a neutral mindset. I said, okay, cool. And then I saw the gold medal round with Anthony Joshua, and I'm like, no, this dude lost. This dude absolutely lost, man. This guy lost the gold medal round, and they gifted him a decision. That was an omen that will reside with Anthony Joshua all the way up to now. Because protection doesn't mean it's sustainable. You know what I'm saying? Protection may be something that's a temporary, band-aid to get you through certain spots, certain areas. You know what I'm saying? But in this case, it showed me that Anthony Joshua wasn't extremely talented like people was putting him out to be. He would make his rise through the professional ranks. He had people just looking at him like he was gonna be that Ali, man. Like he had everything, and somebody fucked around over there across the pond and started saying, you know what, let's build up Anthony Joshua's image to that of Ali. Even though he don't look like Ali, they changed him in the white robe and the shorts. And then the quest began. The quest began, y'all. I would have liked the quest to begun and allow Joshua to step in there with Tyson Fury before Tyson Fury made his exit, before he egressed from the sport because of drug use. You know what I'm saying? If anyone remember, Tyson Fury was on the bar. He was on the carpet, so to speak, with Christian Hammer. And in that fight, he had a thumb loop alteration to his gloves. His gloves was fucked up. And then, he it was just all bad. Him popping dirty. He won the fight, but him popping dirty and putting in an appeal, which allowed him still to go in there and fight. Vladimir Klitschko. Now the thing about that is, when he left the sport, that allowed Anthony Joshua to become relevant. That allowed Anthony Joshua to now introduce himself to the boxing masses. That's what that's about. The guy that would have been absolute trouble for Joshua back then was now out of the sport. It's just amazing how that transition happened, and Joshua was able to establish himself in boxing history the way he did, all because of Fury being a dirty fighter and leaving the sport. Joshua was able to come in here and take under a new identity and basically start his rise. And that rise will come with Klitschko, okay, who had been out the ring a year and a half. He came back into existence to fight the one and only Anthony Joshua. Real talk. This was amazing too, because the Klitschko brothers, they was legends of boxing. At one point in time, we didn't know when we would have another heavyweight that can come in here and dethrone the Klitschko brothers. So when Tyson Fury last, when he fought Vladimir Klitschko in 2015, and it was one of those deals where Klitschko lost, Tyson went away, and Anthony Joshua was able to summons. He was able to summons Vladimir Klitschko to the four corner square for a title fight. This man had been gone for a year and a half. So it's a lot of, working minds that say, well, that's not that bad. That's what they do. But back then, you're talking about a guy who just wasn't out of the ring like these fighters today. These fighters today are out the ring because they are getting paid well, some of them, and they only have to make an appointment twice a year, biannual. But back then, Klitschko was out of the ring because he was retired. He was out of the ring, done, sir, done, retired. Done. Super, 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 super done. It doesn't get any better than that. Like Vladimir Klitschko was on the porch talking to Vitaly, and the brothers was up there discussing, certain things that went on in the ring. You know what I'm saying? They were just having all those discussions. It wasn't anything crazy, but Joshua began his reign crazy. You notice I didn't really mention Charles Martin, because every time I bring up Charles Martin, it kind of gets me a little bit flustered, when it talks to Charles Martin, because I truly believe that Charles Martin threw the fight. It ain't no allegedly. I believe Charles Martin threw the fight. Even when you watch the fight with Charles Martin and Anna Konoski, even the commentators, they speak on that fight. So, Anthony Joshua had already picked up the IBF title from Charles Martin. That's like a non-topic, man. That was an easy dang championship for Anthony Joshua. And that, he was beginning his rise, right? So he fights Vladimir Klitschko for the WBA. Go ahead and throw the IBO in there. This man was retired. This man was retired. I'm just saying, this man was retired. His last fight was Tyson Fury. Just let that resonate. When Joshua began his reign, Vladimir Klitschko was on the porch chilling. He's probably smoking a stogie. You know what I'm saying? And him and his brother was just talking about old times. He wasn't active. He wasn't talking about coming back to the ring. He was done. He had lost to Tyson Fury. He was done. He was done, y'all. He was done. Done. So now we move forward, right? Anthony Joshua has the IBF title. He fights Vladimir Klitschko, and listen, let's be honest with ourselves. Klitschko was touching Joshua up something fierce. He was absolutely putting on a show with Anthony Joshua. Older experienced fighter he was executing. He was showing his boxing IQ and his techniques. He was making it seem like that Joshua still wasn't supposed to be out the amateurs yet. Klitschko was really putting on a show versus Anthony Joshua. And that wasn't what was supposed to happen. He's supposed to go in there and move around. You know what I'm saying? It was set for Anthony Joshua to pick up the belts and continue his reign. You know what I'm saying? Continue building up the titles in the heavyweight division, because they had the entire itinerary set for Anthony Joshua at that point in time. They had already scooped up the one with Charles Martin. Now they was with Vladimir Klitschko, and you know, through the knockdowns and shit, Vladimir still was on his feet when they called the fight in the 11. You know what I'm saying? He was still on his feet, but they had to get that victory. And I said at that point in time, I was like, man, this guy is not who they say he is. He's everything that I thought he was. When I looked at the gold medal round, Anthony Joshua was everything I thought he was. Real talk, he was everything I thought he was. So after you get through with Vladimir Klitschko, right? This is back in somewhere in 2017. That was his fight. No, that was one of his second fights in Wembley Stadium. And that was the fight where people were saying that Anthony Joshua sold out. It used to get stupid over there in Facebook groups. He was talking about Anthony Joshua sold out Wembley. I was like, what? Did you know that who he was in there? Who was his dance partner? He sold out Wembley. He was in there with Vladimir Klitschko, bro. A lot of people came in there to see the Klitschko. Who the fuck knew what Anthony Joshua was? Anthony Joshua wasn't like that. People was trying to boost him up to be because they was infatuated with, with the way he looked, his UK accent, his British accent. People was freaking infatuated with it. So he defeats Vladimir in a controversial. Charles Martin was controversial. Vladimir Klitschko was controversial. Now he goes up there and faces Carlos Takam. Now, if anybody looked at this freaking fight with Carlos Takam, before then, people was talking about Anthony Joshua's right uppercut. Joshua has this knockout power, his uppercuts. Oh my God, it's just brutal. And remember what I told you about his uppercuts, because that's going to come back into play later on when I get to his other opponents. So he faces Carlos Takam and he lands a very nice uppercut, and drops Carlos Takam. That's what I wanted to see. This guy they call a very tough fighter. Could he take Joshua's power? You know what I'm saying? And he got dropped. He got right back up and he was ready to go. But the referee, this is when I was learning some shit, right? About them refs over there in the UK. Like the referee was pretty much trying to pretend like he didn't understand what Carlos Takam was saying. Because like, oh, I'm good. He was waving his hands off like he was about to stop the fucking fight. And this is in the Principality Stadium, Cardiff. And Takam was like, nah, what are you doing? I said, I'm all right, man. What the fuck you doing? Get out the way. Let's keep on fighting. So at that point in time, if y'all didn't know, Takam and Joshua was agreed upon at a 235 weight limit. From my understanding, it was around 235 they had agreed upon, right? Takam met his weight limit, but Joshua came in at 254, 255, something like that. Anthony Joshua looked huge in that fight. He was a bulky ass superhero looking, you know what I'm saying, Adonis that they was trying to build into this almighty heavyweight world champion. You know what I'm saying? They was trying to build Anthony Joshua into a polarizing figure along with him collecting these belts. That's what they was trying to do. They was trying to, create this polarizing heavyweight champion who's just different from anybody you ever seen. At first what they did, whoever was playing, they put him on the weights. They put all this muscle on him. And Joshua had extremely poor cardio at that time. So Carlos Takam was doing very well in that fight with Anthony Joshua. But of course, Joshua sits up here and lands a combination and the referee stops the fight just like Lawrence Cole did with Soto. This out of nowhere stops the fight in the 10th round. So I'm curious at the time. I'm saying, God damn it, I'm curious. What the fuck is going on with these UK reps? Man, I got to find out why. I got to put some shit together. I got to link it up. I have to do a psychological investigation on this shit, man. because right now I'm bewildered a bit. I'm saying, that doesn't seem right. Like this wasn't for a title. Joshua was defending his titles, but he wasn't gaining a title or Carlos Takam. And then it all came it all came to fruition. You know what I'm saying? A fight later, 2 fights later. He would go on. He got that 10th round stoppage, and the 10th always sat with me because I was like, the referee was doing too much. It always sat with me, right? So boom, I move. Anthony Joshua fights Joseph Parker. Joseph Parker was a WBO champion. You know how it goes, man. You know, he wasn't well known. He was undefeated. He wasn't a slouch. And the referee in that fight never allowed them to truly engage for long periods of time. He cut the clock off quick, separated them. You know, they go back, and there was a little small pockets of the fight where it seemed like Joseph Parker hurt Joshua, right? So they would exchange here and there, but it was a very one of those fights where the referee was absolutely the third man in the ring. Like that man would not allow them to have long encounters when they was throwing punches. It was a lot of holding in that fight. All of that. It wasn't a sloppy fight, but it didn't live up to the standards of a unification of that magnitude with all the hype that they was giving Anthony Joshua. So Joseph Parker loses the decision. Joseph Parker has to take the culpability also because he was the WBO champion. It just seems like he was willing to survive. That's what I got from Joseph Parker. He was just willing to survive. So Anthony Joshua picks up another belt from Joseph Parker. He picks up another belt. Now he's truly that unified, champion. He has the WBA, the WBO, the IBF, and the IBO championship. Then comes Alexander Povetkin. This is where it becomes a part of history, people. Listen to me. This is a part of history that I wish, when it comes to boxing, I just wish it would have remained on the surface just a little bit longer, man. You know what I'm saying? I wish it just would have had a stronger anchor to it when it came to boxing. I just wish this part of history, because after the Joseph Parker fight, that's when the Deontay Wilder situation came into play. All right? The Deontay Wilder situation came into play with trying to fight for the undisputed. This would have been epic for the heavyweight championship if Deontay Wilder wouldn't have received the lowball offers from Eddie Hearns. There wasn't too many fighters that you can pick before this news began to hit the airwaves that they can say they was given a $12 million flat fee. They won't say, "Oh, we're going to give a $12 million flat fee." That's the most he's ever earned. $12 million flat fee. They was talking about Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua for an undisputed, heavyweight undisputed, was potentially a $80 to $100 million fight, people. I often cogitate about this a lot, right? I think to myself, I was like, I'm pretty sure Deontay Wilder would have fought Anthony Joshua back then. He would have became undisputed. It just was no denying that the power and the awkwardness of Deontay Wilder would have gave Anthony Joshua problems. That's just my complete thought process on how that fight would have played out. So the talk was going back and forth, and then Eddie came out with 15 million flat fee. It was just a debacle. At the end of the day, it was just all bad, man. People was calling Eddie Hearn racist, saying, why you want to do Deontay Wilder like this? Where did all this flat fee come in? Why you don't want to pay the man? So you're talking about from March to September. We're still in between that window. Anthony Joshua somehow You know, he leaves the area of supervision, didn't ask permission to jump online. He gets online and say, you know, you give me 50 million, I'll fight you tomorrow. You give me guaranteed 50 million, I'll fight you tomorrow. And you know how it went that, the 50 million was presented something, the 50 million was presented, but it came with a stipulation because pretty much Eddie Hearns wanted Deontay Wilder to go over to the UK for that undisputed and take 12 million. No backside for nothing. He wanted him to take 12 million and the fight be in the UK. After what I just told you about the Joseph Parker, the Charles Martin, I can attest that Deontay Wilder wasn't, he wasn't scared to go over to the UK. He just wanted to be paid for his work, right? So when Anthony Joshua came online with this 50 million and things start to come together, it started off like a collage, right? And this shit started meshing itself together into a masterpiece, man. And I was like, wow, 50 million guaranteed money. And that's not even all he's going to get. Joshua's going to get paid for this fight because he's getting knocked the fuck out. Joshua's getting paid incredibly for this fight. He'd get 50 million guaranteed in the bank. And then whatever he's getting on the back end. That dude look, Anthony Joshua would end up getting over 100 million. Potentially. He could have easily got over 100 million according to what the PPV and everything, because people would have paid for that fight back then. It was back and forth, but when that 50 million was supposedly verified and everything, it came with a stipulation. Deontay Wilder said, you know what? Get the 50 million, but the fight gonna be in the US, because Joshua haven't fought in the US, right? It's gonna be in the US and there's no rematch clause. Bring your ass over here, and we're pretty much gonna fight with no rematch clause. Almost similar to Devin Haney and George Kambosos. But yet, the person that would have had to do the travels was Anthony Joshua. Absolutely, people. That's what was requested. When it seems like this was a social media party, when it seemed like the fight may indeed happen, like I don't know what the fuck was going behind the scenes, but this topic assaulted the airwaves. This topic right here was violent, man. This topic was everywhere that you can imagine. This was a perfect example of social media stalking. Every site you look on, this topic was being spoken on. That's why, look, this is why when you look at the Crawford Errol Spence divide and the internal war that's going on, I've been there already with Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua. This was crazy. All of a sudden, the WBA comes out and said Anthony Joshua has a week to sign on, else he's going to be stripped. The face is mandatory. All of a sudden, they come up there and say, "Oh, Anthony Joshua, we've seen your activity online, which how are you just skipping around and hopscotchy and ignoring the fact that you have a WBA mandatory. So it's up to us to give you more clarification. You have a week. Within that week, if you refuse to sign, we will strip you of that belt." You understand that, Joshua Hearn? Are we clear? So that news popped out, right? And the Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua talks just diminished, man. I'm talking about diminished. Eddie Hearn shut that down. He already had plans. Now, you remember I said that Anthony would have got 50 guaranteed, and he probably would have made over 100 million total. That would have set Anthony Joshua in an entirely different pay bracket. If he was able to get guaranteed 50 and whatever they was getting, and Deontay Wilder is getting 12 million. Or whatever they came up with, 15 million whatever he was getting on the back end of PPV. I think it was a different type of arrangement on the back end, but he potentially would have got paid pretty okay. Deontay Wilder. When I say okay, it's better than the 15 million flat fee, right? So when the WBA came out with that, the talks went away. I mean, I'm talking about kidnapped. They was done over. The week came and expired. We didn't hear anything else about nothing. It just went into the darkness, faded away, and that was a part of boxing history that will ever sit with me, because I believe that Deontay Wilder could have became undisputed if he would have took the 12 or $15 million flat fee and fought in the UK. Seriously. But look, I'm not sure if they would have been able to come out any different than having the referee step in and try to mediate the fight. He would have had to go over there and knock Joshua out. But I believe deep down inside that if Wilder would have been able to go over there at that time across the pond, he would have became undisputed, and we would have been talking about a different type of heavyweight history as we now know it. You know what I'm saying? It would have been different for Wilder too. Imagine if him, Wilder becoming this undisputed champion back in 2018. It would have been crazy. But anyway, Alexander Povetkin is Anthony Joshua's next opponent. Now, a lot of shit took place, and this is all going off the recall memo, right? A lot of shit took place. A big announcement came. Eddie Hearn said, Anthony Joshua has a 2-fight deal, a 2-fight Wembley deal worth $100 million. Whatever it was. He was to fight in September, and then again the next year in April. So he was going to fight Alexander Povetkin in 2018, and in 2019 they had an April date set up. All right. So they end up signing the fight. We find out that Alexander Povetkin, who was 34-1 at the time, they're going to fight, and Anthony Joshua is going to defend his titles. So at this point in time, right, you remember what I said about the Carlos Takam fight? You remember how I said the referee was acting a bit eccentric, you know what I'm saying, in the way he was reffing the fight, and he stopped the fight in the 10th round, and I couldn't quite understand and put my finger on it. It was because Alexander Povetkin was due to fight Anthony Joshua. Joshua was due to fight Alexander Povetkin up the road. Alexander Povetkin had fought Carlos Takam, and he stopped him in the 10th round. It didn't have anything to do with Joseph Parker. You know what I'm saying? Even though he fought Joseph Parker in between, the Takam, Alexander Povetkin, didn't have anything to do with it, because Joseph Parker has never fought Carlos Takam. He fought Derek Chisora, but not Takam. So come to find out, they couldn't allow Anthony Joshua to go the distance with Carlos Takam, and he had a common opponent, Alexander Povetkin, who was going to be his mandatory. So they stopped the fight in the 10th round. Like he wasn't even on the canvas or nothing, man. He stopped the fight because of a little flurry, and Takam was good. Well, you go back down in BoxRec, you'll see that Alexander Povetkin stopped Carlos Takam in the 10th round too. So pretty much Anthony Joshua goes in here and fights Alexander Povetkin and stops him TKO in the 7th. And that will basically seal the deal for his reign. You know what I'm saying? His reign will come to a halt because of Jarrell Miller. Jarrell Miller was set to make millions, and Joshua was coming to the States to fight for the first time. Jarrell pops dirty, Andy Ruiz come in and makes Anthony Joshua quit, and the rest is history. He hands Anthony Joshua his first loss. You know, he fights him in a rematch. He fights Andy Ruiz. Joshua fights Ruiz. He gets his belts back. He goes on and fight Pulev, stops him in the ninth. And then, once again, his reign comes to an end when the man himself, Alexander Usyk, steps into the equation from cruiserweight, former undisputed cruiserweight world champion. He finally gets his shot after stepping in the heavyweight division, dispersing of Chase Witherspoon. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? He faced Chase Witherspoon and Derek Chisora. He's a little shaky on Chisora, but Derek, he has his moments where he's competitive. He's a tough dude. He's not the one you want to fuck with, anywhere. Dude is super, about that smoke. But Alexander Usyk gets his shot, defeats Chisora, and then comes in against Joshua, and he picks up the win, a UD, 12-round UD. This is where we're at right now with Usyk. You know what I'm saying? Usyk versus Anthony Joshua in a rematch. Now I need to get to the super chat, and then I'm going to continue. IB, what's good? Good morning, Monica. How you feeling, Queen? King Mitch on deck. AJ had it in him when he was full of that false confidence. Hey, we're going to get to that. For real. We're going to get to that. IB on deck, what's good? Happy Friday to everybody. Hope you're doing great. Big Pharma could have beat AJ too. We know he was full of that shit, that good shit. Yeah, man. Unfortunately, we say it all the time that Jarrell Miller, at that point in time, Jarrell Miller could have gave Joshua problems, but he's not a part of this conversation right now. He's not. He don't deserve that. The way he looked, nah. So Alexander Usyk comes up and he dethrones Anthony Joshua when he begins his second reign. He dethrones the man, right? So we're looking at a new phase, not in boxing, but in the heavyweight division. He's not the biggest heavyweight because we've seen Deontay Wilder coming here at the lower weights and absolutely dominate, man. So Alexander Usyk comes in here and put the paws on Anthony Joshua, takes the belts, and we go for a rematch. And for Alexander Usyk, it was a point in time when he was in the same position as the Alexander Povetkin people. Alexander Povetkin was sitting on the sideline waiting for a situation to stop too. Like I put this shit together, man. Like it's just like a little vortex of debris just be going around. I just be reaching that, grabbing that motherfucker. but check this out. Alexander Povetkin was also in the same situation when it came to Joshua, especially when the Deontay Wilder and Joshua talks was going on for them to potentially unify. Well, Alexander Usyk was in the same boat, y'all. You heard it from WCS, man. Just call it storytelling. So you remember when Deontay Wilder was in arbitration and Tyson Fury was the reigning defending, which he is right now, from the rematch. And people was saying that, hey, Eddie Hearn has put out that Fury and Joshua has agreed. And he put out the pictures of them on the side of the road. Fury all of a sudden driving up in his car and Joshua's big ass is standing on the motherfucking corner or the side of the street. Like he's just waving to the people. So they was bigging up that fight. They have shaken hands. They have agreed. The fight's going to happen. All along, Deontay Wilder's still actively in arbitration to face his trilogy. Now, a lot of controversy was had with that when it comes down to them talking about the pandemic and what was in the contract and being that a fight of this magnitude could not go down in the bubble. And they were saying it was expired. No. Wilder had to go to court to say, you know what? Look what's in the contract. I want my trilogy. I want to go in there and have at least the opportunity to get my belt back. Not just go out like this in a rematch and then they go fight for undisputed. That's the respect that a lot of us give Deontay Wilder. He took the necessary ramifications, legal ramifications, to go in there and have his people read his contract, get back in court, have it adjudicated, and then they set up a fight date. In the meanwhile, right, Alexander Usyk was on the sideline as the mandatory, bro. All along, while you have two heavyweight champions out here talking shit. It's like, hey, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, it's going down. It's going to be $100 million fight. And, I think some of the other promoters was talking about this. This is going to be one of the biggest heavyweight fights in history. And then you had YouTube, the YTC, that was up here making thumbnails. Great. We're not going to see Wilder, Fury 3. Great. We don't need to see that. They was hating like a motherfucker, boy. They was like, oh, we don't want to see this fight. We don't want to see it. But yet, it was on paper that this fight needed to happen. It was supposed to happen. It was contractually binding. Man. All along, Alexander Usyk sitting on the sidelines like, what about me? Oh, yeah. What? Deontay Wilder, from what I'm hearing, talks. I mean, come on now, guys. Why are you putting out agitprop out here? And it's spewing over into the YTC, and they're talking it up as if it's absolutely going to be happening in reality. And it didn't. News broke. The shit was open. We was going to get Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder. But all along, Eddie Hearns is out here talking about the heavyweight fight was going to be in August. He was saying it's going to be in August of last year, bro. Yes, indeed. He said it was going to be in August of last year. They was going to fight Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua for all the straps. But yet, it was no fight date. Nothing, none of that. It was just speculation. When Wilder came out, it shut it down. Just like I told you that WBA announcement came out, this was the same way. Once arbitration was concluded, consummated, sealed, adjudicated, that news came out, boom, the talks of Fury Joshua diminished, done, gone. 2 sets of history that was removed, and we don't know what could have happened if indeed it would have went down the way it is. Deontay Wilder potentially fighting for undisputed, and then, having Anthony Joshua and Tyson Fury for undisputed. Alexander Usyk would step in there, and he would win. He would defeat Anthony Joshua for the second time in Anthony Joshua's career. He takes a second loss, and now it brings us to this point right here. What I said in my details on my live stream description was what I seen Mitch talk about it. I think he mentioned it. But my point and what I said, did Joshua ever have the it in him? What I mean by the it is, does he have the it to make adjustments in the ring in a dog fight in the heavyweight division where it's not as much movement? Everybody doesn't move like Frank Sanchez. You know what I'm saying? It's heavyweights, they're much more idled, stationary, anchored, and they drop some bombs. Not every heavyweight can sit there and move around like Frank Sanchez or even Luis Ortiz. Now we get to a point where Joshua has to go back in there and attempt history. This history is to place him in the company of Ali, who was 3-time heavyweight champion. For Anthony Joshua, it's monumental if he can get the belts back. It's monumental because he'll be 3-time unified champion. And that right there pretty much, it changes levels when it comes to his accomplishments. Real talk. If he goes in here and defeat Alexander Usyk and become 3-time unified heavyweight champion, y'all, it pretty much solidifies what myself or anybody else when it comes to the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, this fight right here, a lot of people looking at it like Anthony Joshua just doesn't have it. I'm gonna be honest with you. I never thought, since I seen the gold medal round and seen him start to blossom into the professional ranks, I never thought he had the it in him. I never thought, regardless of the Vladimir fight. You know what I'm saying? People saying, "Oh man, he went life and limb. He went there and got it done." I didn't see it. I didn't see it. Once again, I felt the referee helped him out in that fight. I believe Vladimir Klitschko could have very well stopped Anthony, but it wasn't his desire to reign as heavyweight champion in the moment. He was retired. So during that time, you pretty much witnessed him assume the role of being passive aggressive, and Joshua was able to get off some shots, and the fight was stopped while Klitschko was on his feet. Joshua has always been a protected fighter, and within that protection, I just didn't see the it. I didn't see him make the changes. Like, I saw him do some crazy shit. If you go back to the Joseph Parker fight, tape was coming off his glove, and Joshua just turns around and takes his own fucking time out. And the referee didn't say anything. Like, excuse me, Joshua, what are you doing? Okay, hey, time, yeah. Go ahead, take as much time as you want, Joshua. And work on that oxygen. I heard you breathing a little heavy out there. Take this time, work on your oxygen, okay? You know, get some oxygen in those lungs. This is a tough fight. Joseph Parker, you know what I'm saying? He's there. He's defending his belt. That's what it seemed like. Joshua just turned around and ripped the tape off, and I mean, it was crazy. And that just explained to me, like, during his tough fights, because he really didn't have no tough fight with Charles Martin. But in his tough fights, he just didn't have the it factor to turn it on. And look, I'm talking about tough fights with the fights that matter, not the fights of Dillian Whyte. I never considered Dillian Whyte a tough fighter. All them people he was knocking out, they don't get no shine right now, man. That doesn't mean he had the it in him to go ahead and put hands and use the same freaking power punch to knock these guys out. It just means on the level for which they was boxing, they both was basically undeveloped and going in here executing a type of style that was still embryonic. So they was building off that. You know what I'm saying? They was continuing to build off of it. People saying he was this knockout artist and everything like that. No, bro. I don't think so. Even knocking out Alexander Povetkin, man, no, I don't see it. But when he went into when his competition caught up with him, and he went in there with somebody that had legs and could box, which Andy Ruiz was able to do, he faltered. Now, Andy Ruiz that showed up on the rematch, man, get out of here. Alexander Usyk presents an entire vehicle that's all bad for Anthony Joshua in the heavyweight division. He has pretty decent hand speed. He has decent height. You know what I'm saying? To match up with Anthony Joshua. He's not the biggest heavyweight, but he can move. You know what I'm saying? He has the entire package when it comes to basically defending his titles in there against a fighter like Anthony Joshua, who changed trainers to Robert Garcia, who never trained a heavyweight. I'm not sure what was his positioning in this. I don't know what Anthony Joshua was thinking. Why did he, like, when he initially came over here, he went over to Ronnie Shields' camp. You know, what allowed him to land to Robert Garcia's and say, you know, a person who doesn't have a history with heavyweights like that? What made him stop over there and say, you know what, he's going to be the one who I need to polish up and add some wrinkles to my game, stepping in here to get my titles back? What did he see? What was he told? Was he watching Mikey Garcia in that shadow box and say, you know what, I see something. I see something. Damn, that's Mikey, right? Four-weight champion. I see something in that guy. Yeah, yeah, Robert, it's you, man. I'm sold. I see something over there, right there with Mikey Garcia. I see something in the way he's shadow boxing. I'm serious. I'm like, what brought you to Robert Garcia, big dog? They call the man Thick Gravy Miller. Damn. D-Ray Promotions on deck. What's good? So I'm just like, mm, I'm I'm a little bit puzzled, man. Why did he pick up Robert Garcia? I guess we're gonna find out soon. Why did he pick Robert Garcia? What did he see? What was said? You know, did he read a bit deeper? I don't know what he could reference as heavyweights that Robert Garcia could teach him. You know what I'm saying? What did he find internally to the Robert Garcia manual that he can educate himself, or Robert could educate him and going in here and defending his titles? I mean, um, getting his titles back against Alexander Usyk. What did he see? I don't know what he's seen in Robert Garcia. I'm not saying Garcia was a bad. It could be something. You never had a heavyweight. Now you got one of the premier heavyweights who's been unified champion twice, and you're allowed to work your magic on a guy who's pretty much been protected and navigated himself through rough waters with the guide. He had an escort. For real. They escorted him through rough waters. You good, Joshua? Okay, just park that boat over there on the corner, okay? Put the oar, yeah, inside. Yeah, great. Good work. You did a great job. Even though we told you, we told you through the rough waters and everything, you did an absolutely job. You didn't jump out like a lot of people. Okay, you did an absolutely great job. He's been micromanaged a lot through his boxing career, and the land with Robert Garcia. I'm absolutely curious. Like, do y'all remember that Robert Garcia asked Mikey Garcia, and stop the fight? Like, that's family. Like, you want to stop the fight? You want to stop the fight? So I remember all this shit. And like, damn, what is Robert Garcia like? Anthony Joshua has been with a lot of people. One point in time, Freddie Roach was up there, Ben Davis was up there, McCracken. Man, he was all over the place. But to basically get with somebody who doesn't have a defining history with heavyweights for the magnitude and scope of this heavyweight championship, maybe it's gonna give us a whole nother part of history when it comes to boxing, that sometimes opposites attract. You know what I'm saying? So maybe this is one of those times that opposites attract when it comes to trainer fighter. Because we know Alexander Usyk, okay? Look, one thing I'm not gonna do is go through who has Alexander Usyk fought at cruiserweight, this, that, and the other. And his stint in the WBSS and him transition over. The man, former undisputed. I respect it. I respect him as a fighter. He went in here and picked up 2 wins with Witherspoon and Chisora, picked up the titles from Joshua. He's legit. You can't say he went in there and fought a Joshua who's never proven himself all because WCS said it. I mean, Usyk went in there and defeated Joshua. Can he do it a second time, man? Can Usyk, who is cut from a different cloth of crazy, dude is not to be fucked with. I've seen him in person. He's not an asshole. He's just a different type of dude. I told y'all, when I seen Usyk out in the streets of New York, he was walking in front of his people. Look, it's some people that's cut like that. Usyk did not have on a motherfucking full-blown Kanye West special. He wasn't out there, goddamn, mask on. He wasn't. This dude had on a hat a olive green jacket, jeans, and he was with maybe about three guys, and he was walking in front of him, out in the street, man. Ain't all this bodyguard shit. This is when he's currently reigning, defending unified heavyweight world champion, y'all. Do I have belief in Joshua? I never really had belief in him, man. Still, right now as we speak, I have an understanding that Oleksandr Usyk will pretty much get the job done. You know what I'm saying? That's what I believe. That Oleksandr Usyk will get the job done. Now, why do you asking me why do I say that? And this I'm gonna tell you this. Well, let me back up a little bit. I believe Oleksandr Usyk is the better fighter, like I said earlier. But my my thought process, I don't want to be a conspirator or nothing like that when it comes to boxing. But a lot of shit happens like this in boxing when it comes to a fight like this. This is Joshua's historic moment to become 3-time unified heavyweight champion. So it always sits with me, right? In the backseat. If boxing will somehow take a different turn than what we expect to happen off what we see out the front windshield. Out the front windshield, we see a clear path, and we understand that Oleksandr Usyk is the better fighter. But sometimes boxing will give you the same fight that you've seen the first time. Hint, hint, i.e., Alexander Povetkin, Dillian White, and it goes absolutely different than what you can ever imagine. I don't know if this fight gonna be that way, but I'm just saying when it comes to Oleksandr Usyk walking through that ring, splitting those ropes, and walking into the ring, will this fight be competitive like it was for Oleksandr Usyk to retain his titles, or else he looked like Alexander Povetkin when he walks in there against Dillian White in the rematch? Will it be something totally different, bro? Totally different than we expect when it comes from Usyk. Will he come in there acting like he got damn drunk the damn ramen noodle juice off a whole carton, shrimp, beef, chicken, and that dude can barely stand up? Oh shit, that ramen noodle juice is something potent. I like that shit right there. Damn. Man, I feel different. I can barely stand up in this motherfucker. Somebody get the stool, please. I gotta sit down a little bit. We don't want to see that because, from what our eyes are telling us off the eye test, that Oleksandr Usyk should come in here and be able to fight a very competitive fight. What I can what I can tell you without any compunction, right, is that I don't believe that Oleksandr Usyk is going to come in looking like Andy Ruiz. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see him coming in there overweight, lethargic, looking like he's decrepit, debilitated boxing skills outside of the first fight, and he's just coming in looking like an absolute total different fighter. I don't see that. I don't see him being that guy who goes out for the check. Now, in boxing, anything can happen, man. I don't know, but I just don't see Usyk as that guy, man. Like in life, I can place that tag on Usyk and coming in there and losing that fight, man. And they potentially go to a third. It's boxing. Real talk, it's boxing. I mean, it can happen, man. It can happen, or the fight can be a draw. It's boxing. It can happen. But I know for Eddie Hearn and Anthony Joshua, he would definitely love the fact if Joshua was able to become 3-time unified heavyweight champion. And he's a part of that. Eddie Hearn can lay claim that he had one of the best heavyweights in boxing history. No one can extract that from his accolades and his portfolio in the sport of boxing. when he may come up in the future as a Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? You never know, man. You never know. Kim say AJ gonna be saying he looks up to El Chapo now. Y'all understand me? I know. Hey, but he say he grew up off Big Meech, Larry Hoover. You know what I'm saying? At the end there, see, amigo. I don't believe Fury is retired, so I can't say Usyk is the new king of the heavyweight division. 3 belts, but ain't be king after only Chisora, Witherspoon, and AJ. Now, let's talk about is Usyk the new heavyweight king? All right. Okay, Mitch, you have to look at it for what it is. Like I just mentioned about boxing. Boxing had all these twists and turns and shit, right? And they have all these damn scenarios that look one way to the viewing public, and then they always know what's going to happen. They always have the end result. They already know what it is. They know the solutions. They just present it to us as a troubleshooting type of scenario, and we are here doing all these lives and YouTube and shit like that, and we're trying to figure out what the fuck is going to happen in this scenario. Because boxing has fooled us so many times, we don't know what the fuck to think. So where do we go with this? Where do we go? So, okay, Tyson Fury say he's retired. Should we count him out as being retired? The man say he retired, but yet they haven't took the belt from him. So therefore, just like Mitch just mentioned, we cannot confirm that Tyson Fury is absolutely out the door. Now, for Alexander Usyk, when I said, is Usyk the new heavyweight king? Well, put it this way. if he retains his titles, he would have did something that Tyson Fury hasn't been able to do. Real talk. He would do something that Tyson Fury hasn't been able to do. And plus, his boxing resume as a whole would be better than Tyson Fury already. He was the undisputed cruiserweight world champion. Tyson Fury was able to unify, but yet he egressed from the sport and he never defended a single title, bro. That's what brought in Charles Martin and Glasgow. They was fighting for that title the first semester of the next year, man, the following year. That shit was easy work. But now that look, once again, boxing always give us these scenarios that we have to troubleshoot. Tyson Fury defeats Deontay Wilder, who never was on the pound for pound list. People were saying he had the worst skills. He wasn't a fundamentally sound fighter. But yet when Tyson Fury takes his belt, it catapults him to the pound for pound list. How? It's a little bit of contamination, polluted sense of giving credit where credit was due at the time the person was reigning. You polluted that shit with Deontay Wilder. You knew he was doing something special, but you didn't want to give him credit. But when Tyson Fury comes along and he defeats him, the credit is given to Tyson Fury for defeating somebody like Deontay Wilder, who was never really given credit for his accomplishments. And he basically embodies all of the accomplishments Deontay Wilder was able to get and what Tyson Fury was able to get all into one, and they put him on the pound for pound list. Not only that, they put him on the magazine with T.O. as co-fighters of the year. How? If Deontay Wilder wasn't shit. And that's what brings me to Alexander Usyk. He actually has a division where he was undisputed before he went into the heavyweight ranks. Now he comes in here and he finally gets his title shot for the unified titles and he wins. If that doesn't represent the KING, if he defends these titles, I don't know what it is, bro. I don't know what it is, because y'all was up here calling, look, Tyson Fury has a WBC title. He defended that shit finally against Deontay Wilder in the trilogy. But numbers don't lie. Y'all always say that numbers don't lie, right? So who has more belts? Who has more belts right now? So if Alexander Usyk defends his unified titles to Tyson Fury's one WBC championship, why wouldn't Alexander Usyk be considered the king? Because for a long time, people was discrediting Deontay Wilder as being that fighter, but yet they was basically hyping up Anthony Joshua. They was giving him all the plaudits that you can eject into somebody's ego, like Anthony Joshua, and he was the best. He's been reigning. He's lost his title. He's won his title. Lost his title. Won his title. You know what I'm saying? They gave him all the plaudits in the world, man. So Alexander Usyk has already defeated Joshua, who's already a two-time unified champion. Why wouldn't he be the king? Why wouldn't he be the king? Because y'all believe that Tyson Fury can beat Alexander Usyk? I get it. But is he active or is he retired? Are y'all finished or y'all done? Put some respect on Alexander Usyk's name. Hey, y'all know what it is. Put some respect on Alexander Usyk's name. You know what I'm saying? Because, hey, numbers don't lie when it comes to these belts, man. The heavier load, the heavier lifting has been done by Alexander Usyk, scooping those titles off Anthony Joshua. For Tyson Fury, thankfully, Deontay Wilder was a nice person, a nice fighter, a genuine guy to give Tyson Fury his boxing history. That fight will always be a part of Tyson Fury's boxing history, especially if he's talking about retiring. But we all know what it is. He can talk about retiring. He did a trilogy with one of the best heavyweights in the game. So therefore, if he has the opportunity to go over here and come in, damn near a little bit under Jarrell's Miller weight, because Tyson Fury is always coming in that motherfucker, high twos, close to damn threes, and he goes in there and pretty much just lays on Alexander Usyk. Oh, it's gonna be ugly, y'all. It's gonna be ugly. Oh my god, dog. Oh, it's gonna be ugly. Look, it's no way that I feel in my heart of hearts that Tyson Fury can come in there and not make an example out of Alexander Usyk. Seriously. Now we can say, oh well, Alexander Usyk, he can box and keep his distance. He don't have enough power to hurt Tyson Fury. I get it, but Tyson Fury is a very smart fighter, which he's proven. Very, very smart. He uses his style to his advantage with ease. He knows how to go in there and manipulate his opponents, regardless of the height and size. He knows how to go in there and do little subtle, people call them tactics, use dirty tactics, lay on him, wear him down, all alone while throwing punches that count. I mean, he's a smart fighter, man. He's a very clever fighter. I'll say clever. The Gypsy King is a very clever type of fighter. You know what I'm saying? Even though he's a dirty fighter, he's a very clever fighter at the end of the day. And I don't know if Alexander Usyk will have enough if he's able to successfully defend his titles against Anthony Joshua. I don't know if he's have enough to withstand Tyson Fury, man. Usyk is a bad man, but can he handle how, clever Tyson Fury is at the end of the day in the heavyweight division? RW says, did you check Rick Glaser's tweet? Hold on for a second. I'm going to check it out now. To answer your question, no, I did not. Because like I said, I have a UFC card coming up in boxing. So I'm doing that as we speak. Thank you for dropping that info. You know what I'm saying? So let me see what you talking about, man. Let me see. Let me see. What are you talking about? Okay. Here's a situation where Eddie Hearn gives Beefy Smith a big win versus Jesse Vargas a few months ago. Now Beefy runs off and signs with Boxer and Sky Sports. And that happened because Hearn wasn't paying attention to his expiring contract with Beefy. That couldn't be it. Sneaky shit Al Heyman and Errol Spence are attempting to pull in negotiations with Terrence Crawford. Crawford's a very proud champion, and rightfully so. He's not going to lay down on his principles to satisfy anyone. Crawford isn't wrong to demand a fair and equitable deal. Okay. All right. If that's what you was talking about with Spencer, then I'm not sure what you was talking about, Lee. Please elaborate. Ali was actually great. In AJ's case, all three-time champs means he lost the belt twice. Um, all three-time champ means he lost the belts twice. Well, I can tell you this. Not too many people that really step close enough to that situation where Ali and Leon Spinks would say, how can you lose to a guy that was 6-0 or something? You know what I'm saying? It wasn't David Morrell. You know, how can Ali, even though he was degrading in his health at that time, and he wasn't any better when he stepped in there for the rematch. I told you, I spoke to the triple OGs, man. I spoke to some people who's back then. I spoke to them. They told me the real deal. Now, just because you Muslim and you don't want to damn accept the fact of what I told you, then that's your fault. You know what I'm saying? Whoever felt some type of way about it. But I heard it from the people who was back then on why he lost the belt. He, it was for him to become 3-time heavyweight. That, but Ali was the same person who lost to Leon the first time. His health didn't get any better. His health wasn't any better. You know what I'm saying? So people look at it like, oh man, no, that wasn't the case. But the way I look at Anthony Joshua is, yeah, we can grade the competition for whether we see it as being more competitive or less competitive, and then we can give our assessment as to how we want in this era, how we want to place him in the hierarchy in this era. In this era, that's all they have to work with, bro. The heavyweight division doesn't go in the deep waters like that. It's just not there, man. It's just not there. It's not there, man. You got to think about it. Dillian White was in the picture for quite some time, man. And he finally gets his shot with Tyson Fury and he gets stopped. Even though Tyson Fury pushed him down on a knockdown, and it should have been waved off as being a knockdown because he pushed him. You contributed to the force of the knockdown already. You heard him and you pushed him down to the canvas, which the referee should have said, hey, waving off and then continue. I'm not saying Dillian would have recovered. I'm just saying, man, come on, look at the bullshit I'm talking about. I'm talking about scenario-based troubleshooting when it comes to boxing. How did that play out the way it did? Anyway, the heavyweight division it's not deep waters, man. You have the Usyks, the Joshuas, you have the Furies. You know what I'm saying? And then next, we have the up-and-coming individuals. We have Zhang versus Herkovic coming up. People still wondering. You know what I'm saying? Dillian White for quite some time, he was in the picture. You know what I'm saying? Alexander Povetkin one time was in the picture. Joseph Parker one time was in the picture. You know what I'm saying? Now you got Daniel Dubois who just defeated Trevor Bryan for the WBA regular. I don't know. Joe Joyce put a hurting on him. Joe Joyce is on a fast track. We really don't know what his direction is going to be when it comes to the titles. I would definitely like to see Alexander Usyk, Joe Joyce. I would. I would like to see that. I would like to see that. Real talk. But like I said, not to go too far in depth. I don't know, man. I don't know. In this era, we have to start considering the fighters to be who they are because it's not too many big names in this era in the heavyweight division to not call somebody accomplishments great. Like I do consider Anthony Joshua to be protected when he start picking up those unified titles. It's history. You can look at it for yourself. It's history out here, and him picking up the titles is pretty much out there for you to assess and provide your feedback and say, you know what, yeah, it seemed like he was protected. Look at all the fights. Look at the fight that happened with Andy Ruiz rematch in Saudi, and you tell me that ain't protection. They made sure that Andy Ruiz was attending every buffet and they gave him goddamn food vouchers. For real. I'm not bullshitting you. He gave them extensive food vouchers. This is VIP gourmet food vouchers. You not only get the meal, Andy, but you get dessert with it. You know what I'm saying? You get unlimited refills. And we're going to send you home with a to-go plate. Oh, okay. See, amigo. Okay. Muchas gracias. They brought Andy Ruiz in the motherfucking Saudi, and it was hot as shit over there. It didn't matter. He wasn't losing no more weight. So that's what's gonna fuck Joshua up. Like, did you get the same opponent that you got the first time? When you stepped in there, did you get the same opponent than you got the first time? That's all I'm saying. But Lee, what did you mention, man? Like, what tweet you talking about? Y'all gotta understand, man. I'm multitasking. You know what I'm saying? I'm multitasking. So if you can assist with, following through with what you mean by Rick Lace's tweet, I don't know. And I agree, Mitch. Ali was great. Ali was great, man. But back then, fighters did their um their level of activity in recession when it came to fighting was much different than it is now. Way different. It was way different. You had fighters back then with astronomical records. You know what I'm saying? Who could think they can hold down? Look, imagine how spoiled we would be if fighters fought at the pace that they did back in the day. I mean, this shit would be crazy. Look how much it will inject into the YouTube community if we have fights. You know what I'm saying? To talk about all the time. So and so. Well, I'll take that back. In boxing, because in mixed martial arts, these fighters are fighting in rotation with short returns, man. Like without full fight camps, they're returning back to the cage, man, to fight. In boxing, I don't know, man. Like you get people who lose a fight and they'll come back. According to if they lose a fight in decision or they stop, whether they suspended or whatever. Back then, a lot of these guys would fight multiple times a month. But what we can say, Alexander Usyk will be a future Hall of Famer. Seriously, he'll be a future Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. Joshua will be a future Hall of Famer. But right now, we're trying to establish who's the best heavyweight in the division. And if Usyk defends his title, then we will have to see Eddie Hearn. He may end up getting his pot of gold in the end, man. Because Eddie Hearn's always want to be a part of something. No, I'll take that back. He won't get his pot of gold if Joshua doesn't win that. He won't. That's what Eddie Hearns want. He want the pot of gold, man. He want that heavyweight history. He want to be a part of that heavyweight history, man. That's what Eddie Hearns wants to be a part of. That heavyweight history. Dang, Lee just drop a comment and bounce. It's almost like somebody pull it up to you at the light. You know what I'm saying? They say, hey man, you know them shorties down there around the corner, right? And they pull off. Them shorties that you know, they down there around the corner. They just pull off. Like, what corner, dog? Like, where are you talking about? Hey, you know you drop your phone right across the street, right? Where? Where across the street? You know what I'm saying? Did you see those? You see the car full of women pull up? Where, dog? Give me more info. But man, the UFC weigh-in is about to go down. You feel me? So, um, this is going to be interesting with UFC 276, and I have a different live about with UFC 276. I don't want to basically bleed it over into the Anthony Joshua Alexander Usyk live, but I don't know if Anthony Joshua has the it factor, so to speak, the it in him to regain his titles against Usyk. But when it comes to boxing, I'm trying to I'm trying to figure out without prognosticating negativity this to say that this fight is going to happen the way it's supposed to be. But when it comes down to money, when it comes down to them actually, having the opportunity to have a third fight between these two heavyweights, it may go down to something that we wasn't expecting. It might be a rubber match. I don't know, man. I don't know if Usyk's gonna be the same person coming in here. I don't know if Joshua's gonna then win these titles back and become 3-time heavyweight champion, and then they go into a rematch. Because Usyk is a tough opponent. I'm thinking if Eddie Hearns get these titles back, they're going straight to Fury, man. They're going straight to Fury. Because Eddie Hearns wants his pot of gold, bro. And he wants to be a part of this heavyweight momentous occasion for the undisputed heavyweight titles. That's why I'm saying, like, for me on paper, I believe that Alexander Usyk gets this shit done. But when it comes to boxing and the masterminds, that's the shakers and movers, the role players, will Anthony Joshua win this title back just so they can make millions with a heavyweight undisputed, which is going to happen. Seriously. If Fury goes in there with Joshua, he's going to have the opportunity that Deontay Wilder should have had. He's going to, look, Tyson Fury is going to have an insane opportunity to step in there and face Anthony Joshua if he gets the belts back for undisputed. People can say, well, it's not Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua. You're right. But I can't sit up here and quibble about what's not there and what's long past. You know what I'm saying? Anthony Joshua does have 2 losses. But the one thing that's going to continue to give him his Wall Street is the fact that if he gets these titles back, he is a 3-time reigning heavyweight champion. So if he goes in there with Fury and he loses, or the fact that Tyson Fury is talking about retirement, if Tyson Fury loses, then Eddie Hearns has a piece of history complete. The final stone is finally made it from the WBC all the way down to the IBO. He has the final stone to heavyweight history. Eddie Hearns now changes levels. Anthony Joshua changes levels. It all depending on what's going to happen, man. You know what I'm saying? They're going to have to pay Tyson Fury to basically not go in there and whoop Joshua's ass. They're going to have to pay him, man. I don't know what the Gypsy King is thinking. I don't know if he's saying, you know what? I've accomplished everything I needed to. I just want to be able to step back in the ring for undisputed. And it'll be great if it's Anthony Joshua. You know what I'm saying? It'll be great. Then you start playing patty cake, and you're just like, okay, what's gonna happen on this side when it comes to Tyson Fury? What's gonna happen on the side of Anthony Joshua? Eddie Hearns, if he ends up with the heavyweight undisputed world champion Oh my God, dog. It's over. It's over, bro. Like all the struggles he was going through with the fledgling streaming of the zone and $1 billion contingency deal that that they had, and Eddie would have finally came full circle now. There's no denying that. But hey, man, y'all hold it down. Appreciate you pulling up once again. Thank y'all. One love to everyone who support the channel. Follow me on all social media. Hit the like button when you're on your way out the door. And I'll probably be back on late, but enjoy the Friday. It's the weekend and everything. 4th of July weekend. And we're gonna make it a party, man. I still haven't forgot. Y'all know what I'm talking about. I still haven't forgot, but turn up and tune in to World Combat Sports.